All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Todd Brous. I'm here. I'm your host for the evening. I'm here with Susan Schultz and Ashley Wilson, and we'd like to welcome everyone to HBAP Startups. So let's get started. Our mission is to help. We do a few announcements at the beginning of the meeting, but our mission is to foster and fortify an innovation entrepreneur community coming out of the Harvard Business Analytics program. And our goal is to provide our members with the tools, knowledge, and leadership and confidence necessary to create and grow their businesses from the ground up. Susan.
And there, as you all know, there are many ways to stay in touch with us, right? There's the website, there's the YouTube location where as long as we have the presenter permission that we post a lot of very cool presentations up there. There's a newsletter, there's our Slack channel, in HBAP, and as always, bring a guest. And also, if you want to talk about something or share something or work through something with us, just let us know. And just always a reminder, the recordings are public, so just be aware of that as we talk. And right now, we don't have any more events scheduled throughout the summer. We'll see what happens. But as always, if you haven't been to Todd's Thursday office hours, they're pretty cool. And there's lots of really, really fun and dynamic and engaging and at times controversial topics that are discussed. So definitely attend that.
Yeah, I'll put the YouTube link to my YouTube channel in the Zoom chat. So please like and subscribe to that. If I could get to 1,000 subscribers, I can actually turn on monetization. Uh, it's going to be a long way. I've only got like 74 right now. So uh, thank you for that, Susan.
Yeah. And then, as always, just a reminder, right? We want to maintain this very inclusive and wonderful environment with this group, and really focused on collaboration and trust and confidentiality. So, always a reminder that all rights are reserved by the presenter, and we follow these honor codes. And because we are reserving the rights and preserving the rights of the presenter, we say no personal recording of these sessions. And then, as always, if you want to talk about something, show something, bring something, just let us know. Happy to bring you on or just talk with you.
All right, let me just do a couple of breakout rooms. It's going to be 3 and 2, so I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do just a short one. Yeah.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, everyone's here. I hope you had fun in your breakout rooms. When you leave this evening, please do fill out the survey. You're not going to fill out the survey. I don't even know why I still do this, but yeah, if you fill out the survey, I'll read it. Tonight's recording will be made public on our YouTube channel. Please do stick around for some overtime. Um, and now it is my honor to introduce tonight's speaker, Sheng Xiong, also known as Roland to me. Roland is a data scientist, AI-focused builder, and an HBAPper working at the intersection of machine learning, automation, and real-world applications. He specializes in designing practical AI systems, ranging from data pipelines to agent-based solutions. His work focuses on making complex technology usable and impactful for business, spanning startups, client consulting, and open-source projects. Throughout these roles, he consistently bridges the gap between technical implementation and strategic value. And currently, Roland is building platforms that leverage large language models and agentic workflows to improve how people interact with information and make decisions. Now, without further ado, as is our custom here at HBAP Startups, if we could all please briefly unmute ourselves and let's give a warm round of applause to our very own Roland Ding, Shen Xiong. Thank you, Roland. Let me stop sharing. The floor is yours. You are muted, sir.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, here we
Yeah.
go.
Thanks for the reminder. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Roland, and thanks for Todd for such a great introductions. I think it's the first time I talk on the Startup Club 1. Okay. So yeah. So today, I would like to introduce you guys to my open source project. The project itself is called MiMinions.ai, and as a start off, Hi, my name is Roland. I'm the HBAP cohort 10 graduate, and my personal traits, systematic, analytic, and pragmatic ideologist. Uh, so personally, currently I'm focused on like what Todd introduced, building on modular AI agentic systems platforms with a focus on development ownership. As we know, that's the reason why my platform is called MiMinions, which is me indicating like their ownership of the platform, ownership of the agents. So what is MiMinions? It's an open source agent framework at this point. Uh, uh, if you go into the GitHub, you will be able to find the repositories on there and with all the codes. And currently, it's under development with a team of 7. The intent of this open source framework is that anyone can extend, improve, and share with their own communities as well open source intended. And the reason why we build it for ownership is that so the user themselves they can tune it and make the agents behave, evolve, and scale in their own interest. And in addition, it also the more intent is to make it lean and modularized. Why we choose open source? Like the reason is as all the open source, it's introduce an open kitchen concept. We build in the open, we trust through the feasibilities. And the main goal is to democratize of the AIs from nowadays all the LLM usage from renting the intelligence to delegate existing execution to the AI agents. In addition, he also introduced the competencies and the qualities. Merits is proven by the contribution, not just the credentials. And I do believe like we all, one of the other reasons I always going with the students and starting from the edge. We believe innovation begins with individuals, not just institutions. Now the question is, there are quite a few nowadays the frameworks as well as like even for the open clause and the nanobots and all these frameworks out there. So why we still decide to build our own? First of all, it's for to deepen the understanding, learn by building, not just abstracting. And personally, I think one of the key themes in the entire package is about ownerships, and it starts with the understanding of the technology itself. If we don't know what we are handling with, it's very hard to actually commit and deploy these systems into the cloud or like into the enterprise. And then there is a design of controls, right? Like for different different systems evolves and the LLM-based technology introduce their own challenge when we try to bring different coding solution to the real world. And comparing with different solutions out there, personally, we think we will have our own ideology to go forward from there. And also, we would like to reduce the dependencies, minimize the reliance on the external systems. Uh, it's always a hassle to waiting for the issues to be approved, and a lot of times it takes a lot more longer than we supposed to be expecting. Now, on the journey wise, we start with the inspiration why I even started as the this project itself, and then it goes to the tools where it gonna hits us what we all know, like the innovation ecosystem nowadays, it has all kinds of hits and turbulence around, and then we all went through our own iterations. Essentially, it goes to the forward, which is where we are right now, and looking forward where we're going with. Inspiration-wise, why I call it Minions, Todd has mentioned this a couple times with me. There will be a significant IP issues. Still, I kind of really love the name. Personally, the playful spirit of the minions, the Deceptibles, and all these beloved by my families, and it sparks a personal connections and a lighthearted perspective to our project. And when we look at all the agents, especially in the if anyone who has doing experiments with all different framework in the last couple of days, uh, apparently their essence are small, resilient, but at the same time, they are very resourceful troublemakers. Like one of the headlines made by the Meta, like their HR person ends up getting all their email deleted. I don't have such a horrible experience. But I did toy with it, which I will talk about in the discussion and later after the entire presentation about the experiments I did with some of the frameworks I did with and what kind of troubles that I caused it with. But overall speaking, those minions, this concept, the imaginary aligns with the visions and what it actually does. And the other thing is that the minions itself, it brings an optimistic counterbalance amidst all the often intense boom or doom like narratives around all the AIs nowadays they have. It sparks positive and approachable outlooks for the technology advancements. Okay, so the toys. When I first started, I took it an easy route. I sort of like just let AI do it, right? That was um when I first coined the term of like about a couple months in, then I started to actually building the solutions. That's when the AI coding, the cursors, the cloud code, and all these things start to actually come in, and just let the AI code it, and that didn't work out. I ends up actually have to throw away all the codes and start over again. Uh, Maybe it's the timing wasn't right. Maybe something else like the specs or the other preparation I didn't do enough. But overall speaking, there has been quite a essentially the the easy route apparently didn't work out. Then like working to navigating the ecosystem shifts. I'm not sure anybody's still going with the MCPs and the A2A after the open cloud came out. The apparent the CR basically throw all these things into I wouldn't say it's completely thrown into the wind, but nowadays a lot of people whoever build based off MCP and A2A protocols, they will have a significant question like, okay, why did we even do this, right? LMs nowadays, if you go on the open routes, there are about 200 of them out there, starting from the lower band to all the way like the one that's leading. I think Opus, like Cloud Opus, is basically on top of the list. And then I haven't seen the new Myopis project yet, but that's something definitely like in the horizon on the expectation list. Metrics and benchmarks, there are a lot of the data sets that they use to evaluate. Nowadays, they base off all the Turing methods, like if it be able to answer equivalent or better than human benchmarks. Um, Personally, I think that's very questionable. It's better. Apparently high score is always better, but it's questionable like if we can use it for the real world applications. And by the way, OpenClaw is just 2 months old, so it's like as the speed its rate is evolving, apparently looking forward is and making the right decisions a lot more better, a lot more important than just building it. And as the other things about the open source project itself, I build myself aside from my daily work, but at the same time, I'm always looking for different developers, not just for the purpose of doing the work, but like as a reflection of own direction and opinions, and at the same time also keep tab of like, okay, how is the entire society like coming along with the entire trend also. Uh, it has its own challenges. Finding the right developer with the right trails, super hard. Uh, Finding developer willing to stay on open source project, that's even harder. And find after they left, find another developers that try ready to pick it up. That's a whole different story, right? So these are the challenges that have been faced, and in which cases, that's when I start to realize the open source project, or even just coding project alone, like it doesn't come just with ability to develop, but on top, the governance, the all kinds of other things like uh, navigating the ecosystem shift, which is very critical. So coding governance and the policies like need to set up like how the code, like how the developer is supposed to be contributing, what do they need to put in mind, and how they align with others. These things are like is critical to set up. Takes some time, but what I did find out is AI maybe not very good at coding like in up to certain level of details, but if you just wanted to write some governance and report policies, that's actually very convenient. And then on top of that, developing the CI/CD pipelines for the release and the updates. Nothing better than just like let people to start using it. And a lot of times, like we maybe design and sitting in the board for a long time before we even actually run it once. As soon as it runs or the developer agrees, that's the most productive day ever. So that's another thing we learn on the fly. Uh, bring it to the end. Don't just tinkle in the repository. Navigate ecosystem shifts. As Todd just released like a couple minutes ago, I think the Claude itself actually released. They take a stand and they going with the managing agents. Like they release managing agents. It's nothing fancy name, but coming from Claude, it definitely has a huge pressure on top of that. So that's the staying vigilance, adapt to the emerging technology and distribution. And yeah, I think Open Cloud did very good in terms of that. When it comes out, it really utilized the CLI, the OS domain, and use that as a leverage, right? So which it empowers like it itself, yeah, probably not so much, but the ecosystem that you actually leverage is very powerful. Now, moving forward, what's next? The hard part of open source is, and the challenge is that can we make a living of that? A lot of people, whoever goes into that, actually will ask that type of questions. Uh, so far, I search up the three models. But overall speaking, this is where I'm gonna come into the question with the for our group is that like which between which models, how to make decisions, what I'm looking for, right? The common three models, there are ones, the one I'm in favor of is what we call the open core, which the core product is open sourced and the advanced features are paid. It goes, if you really need the analogy to compare with, it's similar and like similar to antivirus software. Let's say if the antivirus software itself it's open sourced. But the thing is, the virus database itself, its virus database will be continuous growing, and at the same time, it needs to that gives options for the users continuous subscription coming, right? And then there are the other ones, the support and service, like what Red Hat was doing. That came up from when I was having discussion with Todd. Like apparently there is a sensing it has a free core software, but instead it more or less does the service and support of the software and get paid from there. And then there is hosted and SaaS, which is this one goes with Docker and WordPress, which the that I think it goes targeted with different audience. And most of Docker target at developers and the WordPress target at companies that actually need their sites to be posted. So these are the three models that I see so far from open source to make a living out of it. Uh, and the ask I have the community. I actually what I come here is mostly seeking the opinions, like where to go, and when you guys look at this, how should it evolve? From my perspective, your help actually matters a lot. If you would like to start or watch on the repository, that's a big help. Try it, raise the issues, for contribute or create a pull request. That it's a little bit over for ask, but if you guys would like to share the opinion or even just raise the issues, it will be a great confirmation to me and my team as well. And if you would like to join us or jump on a call with me, here's my email address and stay tuned out of our progress. And yeah, thank you very much. Now open for discussion.
Roland, thank you. I'm really grateful that you came to present this. I've got a ton of questions about what it is that you're building and really like what the benefits are
Mhm.
of MiMinions, which I put this in the Zoom chat. I can really feel a takedown notice in your near future, if this gets popular. But like, so what exactly is the problem that your agent framework solves versus everything else from, LangChain and AutoGen and AG2 and Crew AI? How are you differentiating from those tools? What's beneficial about yours?
Okay. So the tool itself, we're still in the progress of developing. We are at the branch of like that the reason I come here for the presentation is we are at the branch that I personally feel like, and my team feels like we need to look into how to take the direction for next step. What it makes difference is that we will be open source the governing not open source. We will be subscribing all the governing system of the agentic solutions. So the user itself, we will make it extensible. Themselves, they will actually set up their own guardrail and stuff and configurations. But essentially, from our side, we will actually set our own um, down to the detail actually mapping for the agent decision and framework, the governing solutions.
Mhm.
So from there, that's the open call and the profile that we are going with. Is this still on recording?
Yes, we're still recording. Do you want me to stop the recording?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of getting in the weeds technically, just because I'm familiar with these other frameworks, and most of those tools are, I mean, like heck, LangChain is, Pydantic and LangChain are like in everything. It's like if
Yes.
if you're not using those, what are you doing? Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, I,
how is your system different than those, and why is it better? And in what use cases do you see this being beneficial?
personally, I think LangChain is way too heavy and the Pydantic is way too. I checked the Pydantic. I tried with it. I think I'm gonna like current version of my framework actually use Pydantic, so I should be very respectful to them.
You're on
I think they are very
Pydantic.
good.
You're on
I
there,
think
so you're
yeah,
using
I
this,
think
right?
yes, I think they are very good. The only thing is that like I think in the near future I'm gonna kick them out, like because the since I think the thing I believe both of them are over engineered, like
Hmm.
especially when you put it against like the nowadays like the new generation of those what we call the harness engineering, the open claw and nanobots, iron claw and like they get a whole series of claws. So so when you compare with those, then you will know like very straightforward. All these agentic framework they are over engineered. They are not gonna be retired anytime soon, but they are like how am I supposed to say this? The way how they build actually limits the capability of LLMs. So if you are betting on LLM is gonna get better, you should not invest into those ones anymore.
I would tend to disagree. The
Go.
LLMs are getting better, uh,
Yes.
drastically,
Yeah.
exponentially. And I mean, yes, you can, when it comes to using lower end LLMs, you can wrap them in an agentic framework or harness, and you're going to get better results out of them. There's also a recent paper that says there's an inflection point where if you're even using low end LLMs because they're cheaper per
Yeah.
token, like so to speak, you're still better off using the higher end LLMs because they're going to be more efficient in the result.
Yeah. Yeah. What I was saying is those exist like older frameworks, the land chain, they are not old. But for land chains, land graph, uh I think Pydantic AI is still pretty good. They're gonna stay there for a while. I just kind of don't like the way they pretty much in everything. And I feel like the package is getting way too heavy. Land chain and land graph wise, uh, it actually it's more or less like a bond that you throw onto LM. So the CLI type of command line approach actually empowers LM, but the land chain and the land graph actually limit it. So it's like put a natural progress, like it's put a bounded progress for how LLM is supposed to proceed. while the CLS actually opens the pathway for LLM.
Got it. Thanks, Roland. Maurice, you had your hand up, so I'm just going to
Yeah,
go back to you.
And
I think I just wanted to follow up. Roland, thank you so much. Thank
you're
you for
welcome.
the presentation. I just wanted to understand, like, so from what you guys are doing right now, right? Can you
Hmm.
tell me how different is this from like what the folks at Paperclip they're trying to do with their open source, right? Because they kind of like it sounds to me like they're trying to do the same orchestration where you can have users set up their own agents in a
Hmm.
way, and
Yeah.
then try to make sure that it's zero human, even though you have some sort of a supervision. But you is that something that you're trying to do, or are you taking it in a different direction with a different focus for my minions?
Uh, so it's locally, yes, locally it allows the developer. Though I wouldn't exactly say the users, but whoever is a developer, should be able to actually set it up locally very easily. Uh, we can a little bit behind, we can behind, not a little bit, but we can behind the OpenClaw and Nanobot. That's a shame. This concept actually started last year, and because I'm coming in and out on the job, so essentially, yeah. So I guess we didn't get a chance. We couldn't beat Peter.
So,
But
and I think with that, just a quick follow up, like in anything today, we
mhm,
understand that things are moving at an incredible speed, right? So one
yes.
of the key things that a lot of people are doing is even though you had this brilliant idea way before, but
Hmm.
because you're kind of like a little bit late, are there some of the things that you and your team are actually looking at to say, hey, how can we differentiate given what's been happening, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that you're looking at and say, hey, you know what? If we add XYZ features, we are going to
Hmm.
be like much better positioned on the open source market.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the things that like earlier me and Todd we were talking about like the governance layers which we are working on as we speak. Uh, uh, Goodbye, Susan. Have a good one. And yeah, and the couple things that like right now, I think one for the thing for open source community like is that you need to tap into the big community. I really like what Garrett actually mentioned regarding WeWork. Uh, Establishing a community and develop is very important. Right now, I'm a lot more tightly coupled with another platform which is called Ripen. That's a Canadian students platform. Uh, I also would like to couple with Anthony, but I'm not sure his platform is still around or like working on this. Uh, but overall speaking, I did get quite a few developers like from the student platforms and from the communities. Um, the only thing about the like when I was talking about the developer challenges is that um like I try to like because I would like the communication goes both ways. One is that promote to the university and the students ecosystem as well, and then the other on the other side is like uh we do need to get the development speed ramp up. So that's that side. Uh, Regarding your questions, regarding the niche, currently we are working on the governance layers. That is the key features that I think that's actually the only features that matters. Since like nowadays since the creativities and the intelligence, that portion of it is no longer valued on the market. So and us in a democratic society, people pay for the responsibilities. They do not pay for somebody who is more in power, right? So, okay,
Yeah.
the
Oh, sorry, go on, Roland.
yeah, go
Yeah,
no no, you go
thank
ahead.
you.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna
thank you.
say one thing that Maurice, you mentioned paperclip. Play with it; it's fantastic. Paperclip is more of an orchestration system. they're targeting like, an organization, a business. So you have different agents running different jobs, different roles within an organization. So like the thing that I like about them was the Kanban board where you can, tasks are then delegated and coordinated. Um, Fantastic tool. Uh, uh, I my perception of my minions is more of like they could fit underneath the paperclip. Like there's an agent that you built on my minions, and paperclip could help. Oh, this task should be given to the my minions universe. That makes. I mean, look, you'll see how it goes. But that's paperclip is a higher level structure from what I'm my
I
perception.
got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. That portion of it, we'll have to see. I think essentially nowadays with the AI and all the development powers, to be honest, I like earlier the three models. I'm kind of getting the feeling nowadays if the next open source is gonna come around, you may have to tackle all three, right? Like not because like they could, but essentially the capability is there and the competition is gonna be stay in that realm, right? So
I agree. I agree. All right, so we got two more questions. We'll actually, so Garrett had a question in the Zoom chat, so I'm going to go to Garrett first, then Mike. Uh,
Yeah, is my audio okay?
you're good.
Um,
Mhm.
the item on community I wanted to mention because we had this from WeWork, but I want to touch on something that also came up. The one thing about OpenClaw, and I just want to say the idea of having the open source mechanism to run on your own hardware and in your own way, I think that if you're not like an enterprise company of some sort and you want something that's going to be applicable to the multitudes, so to say, I think that's kind of the better way to go. So I think I think that has a lot of capability, a lot of benefit. If you take a look at Red Hat Linux versus Fedora, you can see
Mhm.
some of that as well, where people can take some versions and work on it, and then when they get to a point where it might be, potentially commercially viable or have something that can then can be licensed, you can. And so then that brings up what in the world, like a differentiation question. And the one thing that I think is the most genius part of what I saw with OpenClaw is that they have what they describe as a marketplace
Mhm.
in which you have skills. And if you think
Mhm.
about it, the reality is Zapier and N8N and some of the other kinds of tools, there are processes that kind of work like a recipe where one group of people will come and say, you know what, I managed to use the API to pull out batches of data to do this. And another person says, I use the API to pull batches of data to do that. And you start to basically combine and remix those capabilities in sometimes interesting ways that are shown in the community that for that particular mechanism. And when I saw that OpenClaw was doing that and people were jumping onto it, you can start to see the network effects compounding where people can share how to do certain types of things. And that's where big business types of that's where I said big business. What I mean to say is that's where commercially viable stuff starts to come out, where there's this particular couple of tools and this particular couple of ways done in this particular sequence is now applicable to do something that is specialized. And you go from having something that's general purpose to something where there's a particular competency that can be licensed or sold at. So, in terms of how to get the community and how to what about a marketplace of the? Is there a way to explore that with building in stuff that maybe the student community has, and then add on something like the enthusiasts or semi-pro capabilities?
There are, there are. I mean, right now there are quite a few options. Uh, I may have to go through my mind a little bit just to see how it goes. But the key things is that when I talk about governance, there's multiple ways of approaching, and essentially it comes down to the like a profile, like how you actually governance is, right? So there are the parts like just a regular person, whoever can write text can do it, and then there is portion like where it requires actually the coding, similar to the skills, right? So um,
The whole
so
thing with governance is, this stuff is all going to get set up in, one of the things with Claude right now, that you have these markdown files, and they're
mhm.
now sets of markdown files that are getting structured in various ways. And I keep seeing that this is going to be how to provide context, because in enterprise software, this is already kind of something that's been done. To get anything done at all, you have to have really a lot of context. And that means that the context has to be provided in structured formats. Actually, a lot of software has that. You have modules that you use for software development. Those have to come in a packaged form where you have this series of parameters and then that series of parameters, and that becomes a data structure, et cetera. So all of that has, got to be some of the things that are going to happen. And if there are best practice ways that folks can contribute to that, or remix in terms of a sort of a recipe of the skills, then maybe some good ideas to keep open mind on.
Gotcha. Uh, yeah, I may have to refer back into the videos for the additional, but I think now we are at the phase, like it has to go a lot more beyond just the simple. But one of the thing I did feel interesting is regarding the LM and stuff, especially with yeah, yeah. I will have to put like I think I still have to organize my thoughts a bit. Right now we are directly at the phase of restructuring the work, like the restructuring development. But yes, thank you very much for the input. And if it's possible, can I reach you back on like into the details regarding that, Garrett?
Uh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Roland, if Garrett had said no, I would have been like screaming at him. So he's saying yes. It's like I enforce it. Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. Mike, you're up.
Oh, thank you. My question is simple. I just want to know from your point of view, since you are the owner or developer from all this kind of code, all these applications. So, in the ideal world, let's say in a perfect world, okay, everything is perfect.
Mm.
How do you see in the future, or how do you see the end, the comprehensive of your product being applied, or what's the use case that you actually or your team is having in mind that your imagination looks like? That how does this thing being applied
Oh,
or
you
using?
want to
Yeah,
know the horizons?
yeah, just like one of the parallel world or perfect, that's perfect situation, everything is perfect. So I just want to have an imagination of the end of the point. How does this thing will become? It's like end of the transportation. My imagination is I just teleport from here, pa, to the coffee shop. We're going to meet, pa, China, pa, US. So something like that. But of course, it's just imagination. I still need to travel by airplane, right? So I want to know from your point of view, how do you imagine that?
Well, I
Thank you.
mean, but at the end of the all intelligence, essentially, it's all intent matters. It's no longer the intelligence because intelligence is a tool for realizing the intent, right? So, uh, and I think essentially the end of all intelligence is nobody got stuck.
Oh no, sorry,
Okay.
I'm not saying imagine like teleport. What I'm saying is like your product in the real world, but it's a perfect world. So how do you see the product will become?
Okay, how would the product become? Uh, well, it will maybe go to like if like I think the ultimate for all the frameworks, if they are still being developed, essentially the goal is just becomes the new level of OS for operating OS for human, right? So uh and as one I think recently one of my developer take down the slogan I put on there. It might still be on there, but essentially the goal is that for the people who are using the package, you only have to do it once, right? Like you can do it as many times as you want it, as long as you get something out of it. But essentially, for anything that human have to do, you only have to do it once at the max. That's the end goal of it. I probably should put it on a slide, but I guess that today is talking about my journey, so it has nothing like I didn't put any of these things on there.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I think we're all out of questions.
Well, can I throw one out? Just
Please.
if we're out of time or whatever. Let me throw this on the table for. So the one of the most intriguing things with like OpenClaw is that when you have it on your own hardware that you're managing, everybody has extra computers, phones, laptops, tablets sitting around that have the ability to go run extra stuff and in a technical sense use no tokens because it's your own hardware, right? If I understand it right, that is, and I don't know, we got a couple people who have dropped, but has anybody used note-taking systems like Obsidian or these systems have all kinds of a community where people exchange, here are the best productivity tips that I found where I put, my 6 different productivity, these are the things I do in the morning. These are the way I track it. And when I started exploring some of those, you might say, communities where people are mixing their ideas like that, it generates all kinds of organic, sort of vibrant, energy. And I think some of that's a big part of the reason that people join those communities and participate, because you get inspiration from other folks who are, kind of potentially in your same area. And so if you think about having that capability, and then like I was thinking of trying out some of the OpenClaw capabilities, but I was like, if I was to ever do that, I want it on my own stuff that I'm basically boxing in and making sure that I can have total control of the context that I put in so that I manage governance, certainly for a while until I find out what everything is going on and where the value might be. And so maybe that's, other people must be kind of also, poking away at some of those ideas. And maybe if not through Obsidian, there's got to be a couple other good. Notion has people are like, I don't know, that's like a cult following Notion. And I don't know if I'm that big a fan, but there's, sometimes people find a certain ones. Anybody have a particular software that they really find as a huge following that, may be able to, buddy up with or associate?
I played with Notion for a while, but after that I stopped. I didn't get a chance to look into the community. But Obsidian, yeah, I I know that Obsidian. Like earlier, I was checking the community plugin. There are quite a few very powerful ones. When looking in their communities, I actually be able to find like they actually publish a very hardcore use case, which is specifically set up a full library for a video game. Like, and it said it's nothing looks like actually a note-taking tool. It looks like it has campaign, it has all the libraries, like wikis, like these kind of things, right? So
They have them with Markdown, and they have all these plugins that as you start to build what essentially Markdown for, and people do everything, kitchen recipes, schedules to take care of their kids and make play dates for their families. I mean, it's actually quite something. And you wonder if there's some ways to kind of, link up with things like that for sharing and exchange of those ideas.
Yeah, I will definitely have to look into that. I think it's a good thing that you mentioned, and now I kind of have to, uh, it was tapping into an existing community that it actually matters, yeah, yeah, I will have to look into more deeper in terms of that. There are cases of establishing a community actually is very interesting, and like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, the only reason why I don't like Claw is because it's just so freaking insecure. It's
Mm,
ridiculous. I mean, it's exciting. Play with it. Do not hook it up to any. Don't run it on your local computers. Don't go buy a freaking Mac Mini to run it on. Just
mhm.
go host it on some cloud thing. There's some click to install options out there. You still have to plug it into your favorite LLM, so you're paying for every token in addition to it. But Garrett, what you were saying is that the desire to run the LLM locally. Yeah, you could do that. It is possible to run one of the open source models, even Gemma 4 just dropped. That's fantastic. I haven't tried it with the Claw yet. Um, that could conceivably work. You're just not going to get as high a quality as you would if you're paying for Opus, GPT 5.4 or Gemini 3.1 tokens. And Anthropic just banned like 4 days ago the use of OpenClaw within their 20 or $200 a month plans. So like no more external harnesses. You got to use theirs. And then today they just dropped their own harness. So like okay, good. They're doing the right stuff. So if you need to, if the outcome is what you're looking for, go take a look at what Anthropic's doing. I think there goes my weekend, quite honestly. Um,
Well, Todd, and I don't know if you've had this discussion. Are there any? You see, most of the stuff you need to do, and most of the things that would immediately help most people are kind of relatively mundane or routine. Are
yeah.
there any? If MiMinions is one, I don't know. Are there any that you might suggest that can be run?
Well,
Uh,
actually, the ones I suggest right now is what Claude just dropped. Their managed agents sounds exactly like what it is. It is. I think it is their response to OpenAI's OpenClaw. They hired Peter Steinberger to continue to develop OpenClaw. I think that that's exactly right. And like there's a trust issue here. You're definitely putting a lot of faith inside of Dario's universe, but okay, they didn't release Mythos because it was too powerful. So this is, these are important things that we're gonna have to navigate. But if you've, I think the tool that is worthy of experimenting was what just announced today. It's the Claude managed agents. I think that's brilliant. And I think we're going to see the same thing come out of OpenAI in the very near future. I think you need to use them all. Just to be clear here, a benefit to any of these other third-party agents is that you're not locking yourself into a vendor. OpenAI wants you to lock into OpenAI. Anthropic wants you to be locked into Anthropic. So yeah, we're going to have to navigate that. Um, I can definitely see how an organization might want to pick one, but I think that that's a mistake. I think it's better for an organization to pick a third party harness and be LLM and model agnostic because that way your infrastructure can switch models on a moment's notice, like, whether it's on open router or direct API access. I think that's the better architecture. Um, and all of them should be open source. So, Roland, you're on the right track. Let's just, you know,
Thank
the
you.
question you're going to face from is the business model. How do you monetize this? That's going to be an
Well,
issue. And how do you make
yeah.
it? How do you make this competitive relative to, LangChain and Crew AI and OpenClaw and PyMono? How do you get there? I don't know if what you currently have or what your roadmap is that makes you competitive. Sorry, Garrett, I
Mhm.
don't know if that answered your question. I
yeah,
can
it
take
was, you know, I mean, I guess these are going to be the discussion points that are, and I thought that I thought Google released one where it was able to be run on your own, not just on a directory that you have. As I understand it, when you get Claude Cowork, you're going to tell it this particular directory and that directory, and that's what it's limited to basically check. Similar to how
Mhm.
Notebook LM works for Google, but they have they I guess released just a few days ago a lower level agent where you can run it on your own kind of a thing. But again, you may have vendor lock-in with that,
Well,
and
I mean, they did release Gemma 4. Is that what you're talking about? That's a large language model. That's an open source, open weight large language model. Is that what you're referring to?
are you able to run that on your own?
You can, again, yes, you can run that. You can download that model. It's an LLM. It's not an agent. They are different. They are very different. Okay, it is
It
just an LLM. That's what. If you're talking about Gemma 4, that's a large language model.
okay, yeah. Well, my thing is that I want to be able. I would want to. Most people would like to have a mechanism that some of these things can be running and that they can develop and keep putting in their little governance controls and their special parameters, but that they keep that control to themselves on their own hardware and in their own, boxed environment, certainly for some time.
There are
And
multiple components that are necessary to do what you're describing. The large language model is one part of an agent.
right,
Gemma 4, and I just put in the Zoom chat what they just released. Those are a bunch of large language models that they uh, they announced. You can wrap those large language models into any number of agentic AI harnesses, including Roland's MiMinions. It will
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
perform as well on whatever task he gives it on average than if he put it into Gemini 3.1 or Opus or Sonnet or GPT 5.4.
that's what I'm saying. Most things simply don't need, perplexity or the latest version or Opus 4.6 or something.
Yeah,
Most
I
things
agree.
that people want to do are, again, relatively mundane, and they actually have the highest ROI.
Mhm.
For again tracking calendar tasks and all of this kind of standard stuff. The fact is,
Mhm.
those are the first places where you can get immediate. You think about being able to respond to messages, you know, standard stuff, and those things on the one hand are standard, but on the other hand, when you're doing those things for yourself, you don't want to give up that control because those are that's kind of like your personal operating system or your personal business's operating system, and it's like
Well, I mean, you're
I
It
getting
wonder.
the
requires the
task.
personalization. Sorry, I was saying like because like you need it because when they operating those things in the public, they represents you. So it needs to be like whatever it responds or whatever it behaves, what it has a touch of you and like the user. And but at the same time, like these ones feels like it's so normal, like we did it so many times, and it feels like to a point that we don't want to do it anymore, right? So is that what you're describing?
Yeah, but it sounds like my minions is one of those things that could have some really great capabilities for many of these general purpose tasks, and I guess if it can be used in a bunch of different ways, then I definitely agree we should try them all, and you're only going to find out which ones are. I have to say that's always been the mantra, and every single time I wind up saying, you know what, I don't know if I'm ready to try this, and then you go try it, and you're like, wow, look at this great new thing I just found out. The amount of stuff that we learn from every single time we do it is always pretty amazing. So, I guess it's going to be we just have to you have to keep kind of plugging away, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like there is a lot of things like to like nowadays, like after the LLM came out, there's a lot of things feels like very awkward. A token-based economy is very interesting to look at. So
We
Yeah.
have that basically. I mean, it's a post-labor economy that's going to have tokens as the one of the currencies, and everybody's going to have their own allocation of tokens. Oh,
Yeah. 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 And
but
soon,
I will
sooner or
say
later.
we're getting to the point where, and look, Mythos shows us that intelligence is going to become ubiquitous. Intelligence is going to become free. I give the Chinese models 6 months before they release a Mythos level model that's open source and open weights, and it's all bets are off. And that's why Anthropic is not releasing Mythos. They're keeping it okay. The entire world's security systems are not ready for this. So they're saying we're going to hold on to it, and Dario's got an immense amount of power right now, and he's going to give it to the security companies, and he's going to say, you guys need to patch all your software, run Mythos, pay us, run Mythos, secure your systems, and then the world's going to have this. And you've only got days to act. You've got days. You don't have what weeks, you don't have months, you've got days. And
Yeah.
if OpenAI releases their next tier model, the competitive landscape is going to push everybody forward. Um, and hopefully the likelihood of society collapsing is very small. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. Well, I like, yeah, I don't
I'll
know,
tell you
at
what I'm
some
worried about.
point,
I'm
like
worried about you, Roland. I'm worried about you taking my minions and finding the proper competitive landscape and the proper strategy to move forward
Mhm.
with this open source framework, because I don't, like where do you differentiate? How are you better than the others? Why should I pick yours over any of the other tools that are out there that have been out there for so much longer? And again, OpenClaw is brand new, but Steinberger did something brilliant. He changed the architecture. You know,
Mhm.
what is my minions doing better? Or what do you want to do? What's the aspiration here? What's the roadmap? I didn't hear that.
Oh, like it's differentiated from the what OpenCloud and Nanobots does, right?
Well, you
Okay.
you have to compete in a competitive landscape. If you're doing the same thing that other people are doing, how are you doing it better? Because if they're doing it better than you, no one's going to ever use your tool. No one's going to pay
Mhm.
you money for it.
Yeah. Well, that part of it, I have. That's one of the reasons I come here for the ask, right? And
I
checking
mean,
between the communities, and yeah, that's the.
I've got thoughts though, and I'm not sure you're going to want to hear them. I can talk to you later about it, but I think that like trust and clarity, like so, getting people to onboard your framework is going to be really important. Figuring out how you differentiate. Again, I'm just going to repeat that. Um, there's a lot of tools on observability. One of the areas that I've presented about has to do with the codification of tacit knowledge. So businesses can now utilize their own agents to give them, so this is Maurice mentioned Paperclip, perfect example. So you have Paperclip manage a bunch of agents. The agents that you build are not necessarily Paperclip agents. They could be your Minion agents, whatever. It could be OpenClaws, whatever you're using, Crew AI. But the team of agents and their skills and their roles and the tools that they use, all of that stuff needs to be orchestrated. So that's an opportunity. The orchestration layer is what Paperclip is kind of doing, but the observability, I don't think Paperclip is doing. I have to double check. But Lang Smith is doing that. They're the first. Like if anybody says, "Hey Todd, we need telemetry," it's like, okay, we're using
Mhm.
Elastic and we're using Lang Smith. Um, every single communication that goes between two agents or three agents or a bunch of agents solving a problem, we want to track it. We need to keep track of it. And OpenClaw's memory system is brilliant in this area. But OpenClaw is working on its own.
Mhm.
In a collaborative agentic environment, this is an opportunity where we have all these agents where they're working together and we are making sure that they're not going off the rails. So you've got the governance, which you've talked about. The observability is important. And if you build the observability layer correctly, here's what happens. I'll use a human example as an alternative. Right now, I go hire a team of people and I say, here's the problem that we need to solve. go figure it out. This is the client. This is what we're working on. And they work together. They collaborate. Each of them has their specialties. Each of them has their jobs. Somebody's a supervisor. Somebody's got some skill over here and over there and whatever. There's through their communications, there's tacit knowledge that is gained that the organization now has. When somebody quits or dies or gets fired, we lose some of their knowledge. We have to replace that person with a new person who has those skills, and it takes some time to onboard and figure out how we do things at our organization. In an agentic AI universe, we can completely replace all of the humans in the knowledge workflow. All of it. That's the capability. That's where we're at. This pisses off everybody I talk to when I explain that's possible. No, you're wrong, Todd. No, we can't. Human culture, like, no, get rid of the culture. Get rid of all the people who could get sick and die and fight and do whatever and need time off. Replace them all with agents. But when the agents are working together, they will solve a problem. And, if they're architected properly, they'll solve the problem to the metric and quality that has been determined by, the owner, by the human usually. The way they've solved that problem becomes the tacit knowledge that now we can capture because we have the observability in all of the cross-agent communications. So all of the traces, all of the thinking tags that each agent had, the way one agent thinks and then another agent thinks, and then they talk to each other, like at the water cooler, two humans talking at the water cooler. Hey, how can I solve this problem? They figure it out. There it is. They've solved it. Codify that tacit knowledge. That's now possible because the things that are doing the work are agents and they are writing text to each other. All of that messaging is incredibly valuable. Now, I will say the vast majority of it, like 99.9% of it, all of those tokens is digital exhaust. It's waste. We don't use it. There's not good information. It's like, oh, I think about this. Oh, no, that's not a good idea. But that was written out. That's in a log somewhere. It's useless. How do we extract the knowledge from those multi-agent systems is really valuable. So if you can figure it out, and there's competitors who are doing this right now, but if you can figure that out and then extract the tacit knowledge and say, here's what we just learned by going through this multi-agent process. This is the new steps. This is the new tacit knowledge. We're going to codify this. These are the new rules. These are the skills we learned. These are the tools we used. And we're going to write it down and we're going to make it available so that everybody else on the team now has this new knowledge. So when we talk about continuous learning, how it's like, continuous learning, we don't have continuous learning yet. Well, we have a proxy for it. And by the way, the definition of continuous learning would be a wholesale replacement for backpropagation. So that the LLM is retraining its weights and biases in near real time. That's artificial superintelligence exponential. We now have a viable functioning proxy for continuous learning. And it's a markdown file, which is what Garrett said. That's 100% true. So if you can extract that tacit knowledge through the observability of those multi-agents, you're on the right track. So that's another thing that comes to mind. Evaluation harnesses, those are also another thing. How do you know that your agent team, and again, I'm not talking about one agent. We're past that. Again, OpenClaw, it's one agent, fine. Throw 10 OpenClaws in a room with 10 more crew AIs and 2 or 3 AG2s. That I've tried this. They went off the rails. Like they were good for the first several hours, and then they just completely went.
The challenge of it is the LLM. I tried it a lot of times. Like there is multiple issues in there. Even if you use one LLM to have a conversation, then you put in another LLM. Like you just switch out LLM and then you continue a conversation.
You
It will one
can do
side.
that. You can do that. I don't recommend it because
You can do that. You can do that. But I tried with it, and apparently, the trace of past LLM, if it's a lower grade LLM, then you all of a sudden you find out you need a better ones. Put a smarter one on it.
Yes.
And you find out the smarter one actually is less smarter because it would be misguided. And
100%. If you take the language, the conversation thread and dump it
Mm-hmm.
from a low end model into a high end model. Like, what are you talking about? And so I would not do that just as a general practice. What I will
Mm-hmm.
do is, just to be clear, the prompt today, as of I guess like yesterday, Mythos changes a lot, but um, up until yesterday, the prevailing wisdom is your prompt is tied to the large language model.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening is, as we're getting smarter LLMs, that they're more capable of handling the same prompt. So there's a framework which we've talked about called DSPy. So prompt engineering, that's going to be the job of the future. Bullshit. Prompt engineering has already been replaced. We've already automated prompt engineering. So every agent that I build has a mechanism that will have a list of, this is the role, this is the job, these are the tasks, this is what success looks like. We then optimize the prompt for the LLM that this agent will be connected to. If I in the future decide to go from version 1 LLM to version 2 LLM, I must at that time re-optimize the set of prompts and the like the soul, the markdown, the rules, the skills, the system prompt, the user prompt that agent will be using to use LLM2. I'm starting to see, and this is anecdotal, I have not tested this fully or rigorously, but like, okay, if I'm using Gemini 3.1 and I'm using GPT 5.4 and I'm using Opus, and I burn through tokens like there's no tomorrow, they'll handle that prompt pretty much well. So my hypothesis is that we're not going to need to do prompt optimization on the high end models, but we don't use the high end models very often. At least I don't, because I can't afford it. So I will use the high end models for high level reasoning and thinking and planning, and I will then use a lower end model for actually executing like code. Okay, write some code, use Sonnet, you're fine. You know, GPT 5.3, 5.4 codex, so 5.3 codex, awesome. Knock yourselves out. And I think it's gonna have to try this with Gemma 4 to see how far it's getting. I think Gemma 4 is going to be able to execute tool calls quite nicely. But it's not going to reason. It's not going to be like, should we go this? What is that the right strategy or is that the right strategy? So I will build a strategy agent, who understands the core of the business that has an optimized prompt. And then the other aspect that each agent will have is each agent will have a adversary, a devil's advocate, for lack of a better term. That agent, when it's thinking, before it sends something out, before it decides that this is the right thing, it's going to double check its work and it's going to communicate with its devil's advocate. That's the architecture that I've had great success with. So my minions can start to do that. Like each agent now has a pair. It's like two sides of the brain. It's like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're planning, this is what we're going to execute on. Did we get it right? But each agent's universe is real specific. That's an opportunity, I think. Like, memory, how you store data, vector versus, markdown, the graph network. Each agent, especially if they're small agents, you could probably embed some sort of a markdown vector graph that's really small and self-contained. That would be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
remember seeing something on Twitter about somebody working on that.
Well, I haven't been watching Twitter for a long time, so I don't know what the
Sorry,
people are working
X,
on.
my bad, X.
No, X.
And then also
Social media
security.
is not my thing.
Security is the other big one.
Yeah, I think the security is a pretty critical one. I don't know if you guys like are we still recording or
Yeah, we're still recording. I mean, actually stop the recording if you want.
well like let let's turn it off so we can talk
Okay.
about whatever.
Well, anyway, folks, thank you for all for coming. Please pay attention to your inboxes because the next newsletter will come out. I have no idea who the next speaker will be, but stick around. All right, let's stick around for some overtime. Roland, thank you for joining us. This was really a pleasure.
Thank you.